Vasectomies are a very easy surgery. They're practically painless and reversible, and a man can return back to work just within 8 hours. There is an actress named Evan Rachel Woods that is suggesting, in retaliation, I suppose, for the abortion bans, that if abortion is outlawed, we should make vasectomies mandatory until a man is married and ready to have children. I thought this was a very interesting question, so I posed the question to a few of my YouTuber friends, and this is what they had to say.
No. No, I wouldn't support it. And I'd probably put in the same sort of category as telling women they can't have abortions, because instead of telling women what to do with their bodies, you'd be effectively telling men what to do with their bodies. But I do think there should be more emphasis on male contraception. And let's face it, most of the responsibility for contraception is on women because they're the ones who get pregnant. There's so much less responsibility on men, even though they're the ones who do the impregnating. After all, it takes two to tango. But women are expected to be on the pill or have an IUD or have an implant or be on injections or get their tubes tied, whereas men, the only obligation or expectation on us is to, carry a condom in your wallet. It's like, wow, what's such a responsibility, and even so many of us can't even achieve that. Personally, I haven't had a vasectomy, but then I'm not in a long-term relationship. I'm not in a string of casual relationships. And I haven't ruled out the possibility of maybe one day having more kids. I mean, it's certainly not something I'm actively looking at, but, it's possible. Had I decided at some point in the preceding decade I was never going to have any more kids at all, then I would have had the vasectomy by now. Plus, it would eliminate the prospect of any little hat bastards running around.
I've been asked, would you support this and how does it make you feel? Very controversial, but I like it. I understand where they're coming from. I think that I would support it, but I'm all for choice. So let's just say abortions are banned completely. I strive for equal rights. So, for example, if a woman is rejected abortion completely banned, I understand why vasectomies would be suggested. It makes me feel a little bit confused since everything is happening all at once and it's hard to keep up, and it's just a very controversial topic. It's very hard to get to grips with, I guess. Overall, I'm very confused with all of it, but I understand why these things are being suggested. And yeah, hope that helps.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this as short and sweet as possible because this is a subject, a topic that I could literally make a 2-hour video on easily. Well, I think it is a bad idea. Now, whereas I understand the sentiment behind it and the fact that it is a direct response to what all is going on with all of these abortion legislation, laws, bills, and everything contained within, I personally think it is a bad idea because it is a surgical procedure, and if it is mandatory, that is the government controlling, what a man does with his body. Now, with that being said, I fully support a woman's right to bodily autonomy as well. I don't agree with the idea of the government controlling a woman's body, especially bringing the idea of religion into it as the reason, which we all know that is not the sole reason behind this. Church and state were intended to be separate, and that is not the case anymore, which is damaging on so many levels. So hypothetically speaking, if this were to actually be a thing, if this were to be a reality, this could potentially endanger women further, because when you take into account the fact that there are already groups, like incels who are involuntarily celibate, supposedly, they are already deeply resentful and hateful towards women to begin with. Now, you put something like a mandatory vasectomy on that, imagine how much that resent and hate would grow. Like, to them, that would be automatically pointless. Plus, I can't even imagine how invaded they would feel. But I think that would also perpetuate this idea of revenge towards women. I think it would make them go out and want to do things like rape or whatever else, and it would make it more complicated for them to be identified and apprehended, due to lack of evidence, like things like seminal fluid on the clothes or on a woman's body or whatever. Those are key in prosecuting people who commit these heinous acts, and I think they would know that, and it would, in a way, make them feel empowered to go and do things like that, as I said, as a matter of revenge. So I think this could play out badly if it were to be a thing.
I really don't know how I feel about the whole mandatory vasectomy thing. I don't think the surgeries or any surgery should be forced on someone. I do think you have the right to choose whether or not you want a vasectomy or any other type of surgery for that matter. As far as the abortion law goes, I think it's nuts and ridiculous. The question I have about this whole mandatory vasectomy thing is, how are the lower income people going to pay for this surgery? I highly doubt, I just don't see the government paying for every unmarried man in the US to have a vasectomy. I just don't see it. But maybe that's the plan. I'm not too sure. I personally couldn't find too much information other than the last thing I read was that it was for unmarried men, and if you got checked or whatever and you didn't have it, you spent like forever in prison or something. I think that's ridiculous, just like the abortion law is ridiculous. But in all honesty, I think everyone should just mind their own damn business. Men shouldn't get to decide abortions, and women shouldn't get to decide if a man gets a vasectomy or not. But other than that, I really don't know how I really feel about the whole mandatory vasectomy thing. I think all of this is kind of ridiculous.
Greetings everyone, my name is Andy Wah, and I have a channel that does pretty much tech tutorials, vlogs, and front-end challenges. And recently I was talking to a fellow YouTuber on Facebook, and she sent me an article and want my opinion about it. An actress named Evan Rachel Wood, being of the recent, abortion ban, she suggested that, there should be also mandatory, vasectomies for men.
No, God!
No. I don't want to get snipped. And I'm sure a lot of you guys don't want to get snipped either. And I don't want to be forced into doing that. And I'm sure the same deal with a woman. Don't want to be forced to have a child if they don't want to. Now, my philosophy is pretty much to live and let live. If a couple or a woman don't feel like they're ready to have, a child just yet, it's their decision to make. It's their choice. And it's nobody's business, from the person down the corner to the Jehovah's Witness up the block. Unless you plan to, take care of that child, it's none of your business. And also in terms of the government should stay out of it too. Old perverts over in Capitol Hill should, keep their hands out of women's parts and worry about something more productive in government, Forcing people to have a child where they're not situationally ready, doesn't do, social services any favors, from families who are unable to support an additional child, they may have to rely on social services. If a child had, a certain, birth defect, they're going to rely on medical services for the rest of their life. So all these, just going to put more stress on social services. And what's so funny about is the same people that, ban, abortions are the same people that are cutting these social services. Isn't that peculiar? But that's pretty much all I have to say about that, And as always, everybody, have a nice day.
Okay, I felt like we got some great responses there. Honestly, if they are going to ban abortion, I think I might support it. I don't support controlling anyone's bodies at all whatsoever, but as it is, women, our bodies are so controlled by the law, it's not even funny. And it goes far beyond abortions, to the point to where we cannot get our tubes tied to prevent ourselves from having babies until we're at least 25 and have at least 2 kids. And from what I understand, if you're married, it has to be okay with your husband as well. I don't think that's really fair. I know that my life is in danger right now. Like, if I ever get pregnant again, I will die. And it's all because of another law that says that once you sign those papers to get your tubes tied, cut, or burned, that you have to wait 30 days in order to have it done, because, you know, you might change your mind. I think that if a woman has come to that decision, she's already thought about it and shouldn't have to wait. Our bodies are regulated, and I can't think of a single way outside of illegal drugs that a man's body is regulated, and I don't find that very fair. I think all regulations altogether on men and women's body need to be dropped. I don't think there should be any laws around medical procedures like that. That's my real honest opinion. Though I do think that if they're going to outlaw abortion, mandatory vasectomies would solve a lot of problems. Like, for one, it would lower things like deadbeat dads, because a man would be ready to have a kid when he got a girl pregnant because he chose to get his vasectomy reversed. And it would also lower things like women dying in pregnancy, because not as many women would get pregnant per year, because all the men in the United States would have vasectomies. So those little accidents wouldn't happen. Which also means less abortions, because, you know, a man and woman would get to discuss this and, you know, really plan for a baby, because men would have vasectomies. And the fact that it is so reversible. Like I said, I don't think either should be done. Either man or woman should be regulated. But if you're going to regulate a woman's body, how is it not fair to not regulate a man's body? It's not. And that's why no one's body should be regulated. Okay, guys, I hope you liked this. I really enjoyed putting this together with my friends. If you did like this, you know, like this video, comment down below. I want to know what you think about mandatory vasectomies, and share this out to all your good friends and all that good stuff. And I will see you next time. Peace.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.